Hey guys, it's me Tilly. Today we'll be talking about all of the character balances that happened last patch during August. I already recorded the videos a bunch of weeks ago, didn't get around to upload it, so now that the level 110 patch is around the corner, maybe some guys are returning, maybe some guys are looking for a new character to play for this update, so I figured I would upload it anyway, even though it's a bit late. But here's basically what you need to know about almost every character in the game right now. Enjoy. Hey guys, it's me Delia, and today I'm here to talk about the latest character balancing changes that happened during the August update of Vindictus, because there were quite a lot, and I figured I'd do its own video. And I'll guide you through what I think about it, what they did in the first place, and maybe how I would have approached some things, because some things are kind of questionable, while others are just really good. Overall, the theme of this update for me seems to be to get old characters up to speed with those new generation characters. So if you watched any of my streams or my tier list video I did recently, you might have noticed how all of the new characters are just loaded with good mechanics and ways to tackle the current content, with older characters struggling in these regards. However, these new changes do help some of the older characters, but without any further ado, let's actually talk about the changes. We'll start in order. The first one right here is Lann for his common skill, so this affects both weapons. They slightly increase the attack range of his active theory number 7, which doesn't sound like a big buff, but do not underestimate range buffs. It's pretty cool. It's just one ability, so it's not gonna mean the world, but that's pretty cool. And they also fix the AI. This is a welcome change. Nothing that will make him overpowered or anything. Let's talk about the Lann Twin Swords, however. The Lann Twin Swords before this update, they had the issue that they are kind of RNG dependent and highly gear dependent. So what they're doing, first things first, is they're buffing his non-RNG damage right here by 10%. These are all of his smash combos. So that's already a pretty nice approach to give him more power into the non-RNG element. And what they're also doing is they give him a higher crit rate. So if you didn't know, if Lann critically hits with any of his smashes, he unlocks the ability to use his theory for free. He can use it with a cooldown by spending SP, but if he crits, he can use it for free, as I said. So you obviously always kind of want to crit if possible. Buffing his crit rate by, I think it's, don't hate on me, I think it was 16 before. So by 6%, making it more likely on max gear to crit. So you're like almost guaranteed to crit now. And even on lower gear, it's a bit helpful to get to the 50-50 sooner. I kind of like the change, to be honest. Give him some more power in the non-RNG and make his RNG a bit more likely to trigger. So it's a well change. I don't mind. As for the spears, the only thing they're really doing is the mark you can put on an enemy that enhances your damage against that enemy was buffed, so you just deal more damage. His lightning fury is also increased by 25%, just like Sword Lance. And his Moon Splinter, which I think is a spin to win, also got a range increase. And as I said, do not underestimate the power of range increases. This is pretty hefty. All things together, this is a just decent update for Spearlawn. Nothing that makes him just outright overpowered right now. But anyone who's currently playing Spearlawns will for sure appreciate these ones. It's not any change that makes you just jump ships and forget about your current main and start maining Spearlawn. Let's talk about Fiona. She's the second character. Let's start with the common skills again, because those will feature or impact both weapons. The first thing is her guard, basically her block. So this is the first character where the old generation basically becomes new generation now. Fiona was able to hold her block, but with a downside. If she was holding it preemptively to an attack, the enemy could hit through the block. Like, certain attacks had to be perfectly guarded, so timed. They're basically removing this the ability of you to hold it, and you can now only perfectly time it, just like LeThor's, just like any counterattack character ever. However, the time window for the perfect guard is a bit longer than it was previously, which is pretty cool, and they're also doing some quality of life changes, so you're able to chain into attacks and dodging moves faster. So just some nice cleanup. Another thing that was actually added is her common dodge. Basically, whenever you rolled on Fiona, like if you used your dash in quotes on Fiona, that used to not be an actual dodge. Like if you tried to avoid an attack by rolling, you would still get hit. However, they now made it an actual dodge. It costs stamina. However, the stamina cost is decreased if you rank it up. So if you are playing Fiona, do look out for this new skill, because you have to max it. If you just jump on your old Fiona now, you will run out of stamina if you keep dodging a lot until you max this ability. And counterattack was also adjusted. First things, the range increase. And as I said previously, range increases are so huge, especially for those characters that struggle to hit the enemy, reach the enemy, get attacked. Like, this is pretty cool. Like, don't underestimate this. What else was yeah, some quality of life things again, where you are able to chain into the next move a bit faster, which is pretty cool. Okay, so the next thing, smash enhancement by shield deflection. If you use your tab ability basically to block an attack, your next smash deals more damage. Now it deals even more damage, like 10% more, pretty hefty. The 10% shield dash damage is not as crazy, but you take damage increases wherever. And then they cleaned up some bugs she had, which is pretty cool. Always appreciated. Let's talk greater detail about the longsword Fiona. The first 4 hits saw a 100% damage increase, which sounds a lot, but it's not that crazy. There are actually a bunch of Fionas out there who never use their first 4 attacks to hit the enemy. They basically shadow box away from the boss, so when it's time for their amaranth kick, and they wouldn't overjump the boss, they would actually connect it to the enemy. I don't think this change may make it more appealing for Fionas to actually hit the boss now. 40% damage for first attack from Ivy Sweep. This is actually pretty cool. But even more important, 15% of these. But even more important, like the lower we get, the more important the buffs are. Basically, increase the damage of the following attacks by 10%, active shield bash, additional attack, and active focal point. These are pretty nice buffs already, but in my opinion, the strongest ones, 5% on Amaranth Kick and Counter Attack. So the big thing here actually is that Amaranth Kick already has a pretty high multiplier. If it's now a 5% higher number, which gets multiplied with another 10% of shield deflection, Fiona's might be able to kick for like 150,000 damage again with the second Amaranth Kick, which is pretty disgusting. Like, overall, these changes for Sword Fiona are a kind of comparison buffs for, or compensation for her nerf like a year ago, but they will make her really, really strong again. So if you were a Sword Fiona player and you are currently on a break or whatever, you may want to check her out again. I myself, actually, she's another character that after these updates I will want to give another try. As for Longhammer, she did not get as many significant changes. The most significant one is that you can no longer perma-stun enemies with your, where is it? The fully charged Sigma Hammer. Okay, listen, fly. Piss off. Yeah, and some cleanup stuff, just like Sword God. Anyway, let's keep moving on with Evie. Common skills, first things first. Again, the only thing we have to talk about here is her mana shield, which If you're a Staff Evie player, get over it. If you are a Scythe Evie player, RIP, I'm so sorry. TLDR, if you don't know what happened, basically they heavily decrease the amount of shield that you gain. And they also quadruple the time it takes for you to even get the recovery ticking. They do say down below here, this change was made due to Evie's defensive capability not being as strong or as weak as it used to be years ago. Like if you are a veteran player, you may remember years ago, you had to use like the cloth gear, which had really low defensive stats, stuff like that. It doesn't exist in modern Vindictus anymore. Everyone has the same defense. Staff Evie even has her block and everything, so this mechanic technically is not required for the class anymore to work. But they do keep it as like a gimmick, I guess. Which is pretty cool, I guess. Okay, let's talk about Staff. First things first is her Mana Ember, her block basically. They're doing the same thing they're doing to Fiona, where you're no longer able to just hold it for like eternity. You only have the perfect Ember hitbox now, so you need to time it. However, it does have a lingering hitbox, so if you leave the Ember, you're still immune for like a second, which allows you to chain into your quickstep, which is another thing they're doing just like on Fiona, where they're adding an actual dodge. If you jumped on Staff Evie before, you would also take damage because it was not a dodge frame. Now they added a skill to make it an actual dodge, so you can dodge skills with it now that your Mana Ember only has a perfect hitbox. Do keep in mind as well, just like on Fiona, you will have to level up this new skill, otherwise you will just eat all of your stamina. Next up, she gets a 5 to 7% damage nerf on all of her spells, which I guess is fair. She was dealing a whole bunch of damage. This will not make her like super weak or anything, but just get her in line. This is fair. What I think is not as fair is the Battle Scythe only getting 3% damage on her enhanced drains. Like all 4 marks basically, if you enhance it with your grab button. I said it earlier, if you're a Scythe Evie player, the mana shield nerfs are pretty big for you, and the only compensation you get is a 3% damage buff. I really hope there will be follow-up buffs for Scythe, because Scythe already has been the weaker Evie weapon. And now with the mana shield nerfs to this specific one, it's actually kind of hurtful or painful. I would love Evie to see some damage buffs here. Or like just any buffs for Scythe. We'll see. Let's talk about Karok though. Oh boy, he's one of the big beneficiaries English of this patch. Basically, TLDR, if you didn't watch my tier list video, I did not recommend to pick up this character based on how his defensive mechanic works. After this change, I will actually slide him up. He's gonna be like the one character that I will change my opinion on. I'll probably get him from do not play this character to he's an okay to play character if you like him, actually. So why did my opinion change? First things first, Absorb Shock basically is his, if you attack into an enemy attack, you take damage but regen it back up. However, with this line down below here, he cannot take damage if he's already regenning HP. So basically you counter attack the first attack, you start taking damage and you are regening it back up, and during the regening process, you basically just actually block other attacks, which boosts his survivability significantly, and it's pretty cool. And also the timing was a bit extended, so it's a bit easier to time it even. On top of it, like basically all of his skills got like a damage increase 10%, pretty huge. All of his active skills now scale with Smash Mastery, which is a 33% damage increase, which is pretty big. And all of his actives now also, I think, have a longer change so that you can now chain into jumbo pawns after. Oh no, you can. Okay. Increase the window. Yeah, there we go. Increase the window, attack range increase. Just like a bunch of quality of life stuff for every attack. Increased damage, range, block timing that you can chain into your main rotation. All of that pretty big. As I said, like, Karok will be one of those characters I will have to give a try after the update. And when I say after the update, I'm obviously talking about after the character balancing update, but I will probably not get around to do it before the level 110 update, which will happen in September. But I'll have to level all of my characters to 1.5 at least because of Partholon, so I will play them soon. Zestus Karok, kind of a bigger change here. So they're basically doing the same thing where his dodge, like if you basically dodge into an attack, right? They call it conversion right here. They make it easier to time. And they also relocate a bunch of his damage. So right now, his big bang is like, there's too much weight on it. If you miss it, then you kind of want to Alt F4 and go next. What they're doing to tackle it is, first up, they increase the base damage and decrease the max spike. Even if you don't know anything about Karok Zestus, just look at this number. He used to enhance his damage by 550%. Just imagine failing an attack, which you boosted the attack of 550%. It's much more forgiving now, so it's only boosted by 250%, but as I said, the base damage by 53%. That's like massive. But as I said, they're relocating some of the damage, so even on a full charge with the base damage, you will probably deal less damage with the Big Bang. However, all of his smashes got a 27% increase. That's huge. They also let him apply Smash Mastery to his active skills. Also huge, right? Apart from that, his increase the damage of the following attacks. Yeah, his normal attacks and active skills. So they not only apply Smash Mastery, they also got a damage percent themselves. Pretty huge. Is it enough to make this character like worth trying? I'll be honest, I have not played him much, but it doesn't appeal to me too much. There are definitely more exciting changes in this update. Hey guys, Editing Tilly here. I just said how Karok is not the most exciting character of this patch, but that's just because other characters saw major improvements or changes to their gameplay, while Zestus was only damage buffs. But the damage buffs were really huge, so if you didn't play him because you thought him to be weak, now's the time to jump onto him. But if you're a Zestus player, for sure you will be happy about them, I'm pretty sure. Okay, let's talk about Kael. So what they're doing common skill wise is his headshot. They're decreasing the base damage, and on max rank he's also losing another 14%. However, every skill that is able to trigger the headshot just has a 15% higher base damage, making it so this base damage decrease is mitigated, and it's only really the 14% you're losing on max rank. They go on about why they did it, and it's basically to tackle the headshot dependency, which, to be honest, is a fair move to do. It's just making his damage more consistent, where I know all of you Kai mains out there, you always get headshots against every enemy, even if it's just a frog. I know your aim is sick, but making these consistency updates for any character is always a big buff, because no one ever is able to play any character out there to 100% efficiency. And making it just easier to get to this 100% efficiency every time usually is like big boy damage. Just like all of the Arisha buffs, which didn't really buff her damage, they just made it easier to execute her. Ended up in her being like the most ridiculous character we've seen in a while. That's why she got 4 nerfs back to back. But anyway, also the Bokai, his Magnum, which is basically like 99% of his skills he's using, will now always hit free. This is worded pretty badly, my opinion. So next one, if you're watching, you may want to take notes. They say it can inflict free hit, but it should read changed so that it always inflicts free piercing hits regardless of monster size. Before it was like 1 to 5 depending on your angle and if the moon of Saturn is in like the right position, whatever. But now it's always free. If you hit Thor, 3 hits. If you hit Keegan, 3 hits. Boom. So that's a big boy buff again to his consistency. You will not get out damaged by thrice the times of damage on like big enemies by Akai, but in every raid now, like every raid doesn't matter if it's a humanoid where he was arguably weak against, he's just now strong and will outdamage you most of the time. Like, he was already the stronger bow or the stronger Kai weapon. Now he's just actually a bit too strong, and to my knowledge, he will be nerfed in the next character balance that already happened on Korea. But if you play Bokai, do feel free to have fun until it lasts. Talking about Kai Crossgun, again, kind of the same thing. They do increase some of his skills damage because of the headshot loss, and they're also making it so perforate always free hits, not any RNG related bullshit anymore. They also do clean up a bunch of things, and else made improvements so that you can use certain items and skills. Yeah, that's pretty cool. You can now use the artifact item during your skills. Not a big buff. Increase the damage of normal attack 7%. Not super big. Like, he does get a bunch of damage percentages. Basically, like, I almost want to say like everywhere. 13% here. Bullet Storm 10%. I just don't think that it's enough to get him on par with Bow. Like, none of these changes actually really change the way he works other than the perforate, right? So if you didn't like him before, you will not like him now. If you're going for damage, Bokai is still the better weapon. So Crossgun to me is still in a very weird spot, even though they tried. Okay, Twin Swords. Twin Swords, prior to this update, I'm sorry to tell you, even though you like her, she did not exist in the game. If you wanted to play Twin Swords, you should have just played LeThor because it was the superior version of the same weapon. They are changing it now, which, finally, thank you. What? Basically, okay, yeah, they added new combos, actually. Following attacks have increased range, and all of them are pretty irrelevant, but the double crosscut and the crosscut, so that's huge. They increased the damage of basically all of her normal attacks and all of her smashes, which kind of like Swordlan relied on a bunch of RNG to get its damage done. Vella heavily relied on counterattacks to get damage done. So they are now kind of nerfing her dependency on the crosscuts and make her a bit more proactive, which is really good. Typhoon Slash, range increase. As I said, range increase is always poggers. Backslash has an increased window. Even better, like more survivability, easier to time. Change Stomp Step more quickly after attacks. This is always good to reposition and dodge. You probably don't use dodge to actually dodge on this character, but you know what I mean. Like, just make the gameplay a bit more fluent. As I said, repositioning will be the biggest beneficiary. And talking about nerfing her crosscut abuse, I almost want to say, like, they're actually nerfing crosscuts and double crosscuts. But to be honest, I think that's fair because A, they got a range increase. So just imagine that previously you only hit 9 out of 10 crosscuts. The 10th crosscut didn't hit because it didn't have enough range. And now you always hit 10 out of 10. But you lose 5% on every crosscut. You will still end up dealing more damage, like, more often. And the next thing they're doing is they just make basically every attack that's not cross-cuttable. That was the big downside of Sword Vella, why she was just the worst LeThor. Because LeThor was able to counterattack everything. I will not read out every attack here, by the way, just read through it and pause if you want to. But being able to now actually counter-attack every attack in the game just makes this character really good again. Like, really good. Don't care about the 5% damage decrease. Who cares? Like, you can now just counter-attack 10% more attacks than you used to be able to. Like, previously you just had to dodge. Now you are able to counter-attack it just with 5% less damage. It's a buff. It's a big one. Like, if you did not play Vella for some of those reasons, you may want to give it a try. I want to give her a try now. Like, all of these sound super huge. Just think about Aodan when he does his wave thingies. Oh boy, you can crosscut everything now. Like, you just wee. Like, big. It's actually really huge. I would suggest you to check her out if you're, like, interested in the character, just the slightest. About Chainblade Vellas, yeah, she's not getting as many good news this time, but they reduce the hailstorm damage when Heart of Ice is active, like consecutive ones, by 10%. It's a minor nerf, but that's... I think they might have just given up on this character. I think she's still in like such a weird spot where she has like next to no defensive capabilities. The one character she can compare to is Bokai, and Bokai has like double her survivability and double her range. It's not really fair. Like, I think this character is still a stay away from. Okay, let's talk about Hurk Greatsword. Basically what they're doing is they kind of nerf his survivability. They do get rid of some of his frames on the blockage. And I think also... no, just on blockage, right? They reduce his stamina cost on both charge and blockage, and they also make it so he doesn't take as much damage anymore. So basically it's harder to time or not as free to time anymore, but you will not be punished as badly anymore. You will not have such a HP ping pong anymore as you used to have, which is pretty cool. Like, that's just another old character gets up to speed with old character up to speed with new characters in terms of survivability, yeah. Okay, let's talk about Hurk's secondary weapon. It's the Teide. First up, the range penalty will be decreased, so if you stand further away with your gunfire, you will not deal 30% less, but 20% less, which is pretty cool. You can withstand attack slightly better during each reload, which I've been told is a decent thing for Teide Hurks. And the reload has changed a bit. Okay, basic shooting increased 15%. I will give you the TLDR. He sees a bunch of damage increases, cooldown reductions, SP cost decreases. Like, just a whole lot of quality life. And just outright damage, which is pretty crazy. I've been told that it's also a pretty good change for him. So I never played this weapon myself, to be honest, but I will want to, or not will want to, but I actually want to play him, especially now after these updates. Is it enough to make him as good as Greatsword? I think Greatsword will always be the go-to weapon on Hurk, no matter how much when they buff Teide, just because people like the style better, I guess, of the big badass sword. But Teide is getting to a scary point, to be honest, where it might be... I think it's like hidden OP already, kind of. Like, not too many players know how strong it actually is. So if you're looking for kind of like a unique weapon that not many players play, I would actually recommend this one. It looks really fun, and the damage, do not underestimate it. Anyway, Glaive. She was another one of those do not play this character on my tier list. Let's see if I still think the same way. And change so that Iron Monkey can be used right away if you perform a smash attack while okay. You can use Golden Arm right after okay. Okay. Change so that Killer Dart starting motion speed slightly faster. Okay. Increase damage, Swift Assassin 10%. Ooh. Made improvements so that you can acquire SP from normal attacks as well. Oh. Okay. Increase damage. 14, 14, 11. Or Fishpole 8. Okay. Increase the damage of Drunken Mantis by 7%. Made improvements so that the attacking with Drunken Mantis, you inflict 2 Swift Assassins even when hitting only once. And that's changed for like all of her smashes. Interesting. Okay, let's keep reading. Zen Swift Assassin, damage increased. Increase attack range, Iron Flag. Increase damage, Divine Spear, 21%. What the? Chamber of Death, increased attack range, increased damage. Long Arm Devil, change it to have dodge hitbox when performing the first attack. What? Change so that you can apply up to 4 Zen Swift Assassins if you land all. Wait, Zen? Wait. Zen is yellows. Wait, that's... I don't want to say OP. Flying Snow as below. Changed it to have dodge hitbox when performing the attack. Increased attack speed. Increase the damage of Zen Swift Assassin. Wait, another one? Wait, did they just double dip? Increase the damage of Zen Swift Assassin by 5.5. Increase the damage of Zen Swift Assassin. Is it 11? Or is it just 5? Okay. Looks like a double dip. Okay, change description. Change the following skill preview. You know what? Her being able to generate SP with normal attacks now makes it so she can just spam all of her active skills more often. And her active skills seem to just be... Damn, you can use them as like a dodge. So the big thing I had with this character is its dependency to always finish combos. And apparently you can now get the stacks even without finishing it. Like you can cancel it and not be punished as badly. You can combo easier because there were some smoothness edits. Just outright big boy damage increases. Dude, I want to play this now. I don't want to say quite that she's also brought up to the okay to play for new players. But this looks really promising. This looks like a really good update for Glaive. Oh boy. Oh boy. Like, for sure all of these changes make her easier to play. So for all of the Lynn hardcore mains, it may be kind of a hit, just like how I was sad to see when my Arisha was nerfed in complexity. But overall, I want to play this. I want to play this 100% now. Okay, let's read about the Battleshade. Change so that if you enter a battle with 5 key stacks already, that's pretty cool. Increased attack range of fight and flight, that's also cool. Attack range is always, especially fight and flight, since it's like weird to use how you use it backwards and then sometimes you just don't hit it. Kind of weird. Quicker attacks. Changed active as below. Change so that attack applies even if you use skill while being close on the enemy. Actually, I have no idea what. Oh, that's neat. Iron Breeze. Attack range increased. Damage increased. Skill activates slightly faster. This is just a huge update, technically. Like, more range is faster and more damage. I take those changes to any of my Arisha skills any day of the week. And the guard motion change so that you can now input Spike Feral. You can now do your buffs during the guard motion. That's neat as well. P cost decreased, always huge. Damage increase, always nice, even though it's just 5%. Change so that sudden gust as below. It changed into second normal attack, so you can combo faster. Pretty neat. Soaring belay slightly faster during fight and flight motion. That just makes it faster and quicker and more like easier to execute. Not easier to execute, but like smoother in gameplay, yeah. Change so that you can cancel with dodge motion when using camp. Okay, that's not for combat. Reduce the damage increase of value of full tilt at stages 6 to 9 by 5. Okay, so they're waiting for the nerf until the very last line. That's a pretty big... Gotcha debated. So full tilt canopy is if you press, what is it? I haven't played Battleshade in some time. Is it E? Like you can enhance all of your smashes to deal increased damage, and that's decreased by 5%. But basically, your entire other kit was buffed. I think that's still an overall buff for the character, to be honest. Maybe not just a huge one with this. If it wasn't for this line, huge buff. Now that it is for this buff, I don't think this change really makes it so any non-Lynn Battleshade player should play the weapon. If you're currently playing the weapon, you will probably see a slight increase in your damage. But it's not a big enough change to let me tell you to go play this character over every other. Alright, it's time. Let's talk about my girl, Spellsword Arisha. The TLDR is they make Mana Blade way more expensive, 10 instead of 7. But to compensate for it, when in non-Mana Blade mode, you regen more mana. So technically, what it still means in the end is you will spend less time in mana than you did before, which in return just nerfs your damage. You deal a bit more damage with your non-mana blade attacks as well, but it doesn't compensate at all for the damage loss. I still think it is a fun change to the character, where now you have to be more thoughtful again about when to use mana, when not to. For the past year, all of the changes directed to Sword Arisha were about nerfing her complexity, making her easier and easier to play. This is the first step backwards, where they're making it so you do need to know what you're doing, which I highly appreciate. And the next thing that I also highly appreciate is this one right here. Increase the hitbox size of mana drain and active counter drain. Massive, big, huge. This is like the one change I was missing to make my Spellsword dreams come true. I can actually now block attacks when I'm like behind the enemy, just like LeThors can. This is really busted. And if it wasn't for the mana nerfs, Arisha right now would probably just be outright the strongest character in the game. Since they did nerf her mana though, yeah, she's alright. I'm actually right now testing the werewolf paw Arisha again, because right here they made improvements on high attack speed. Arcane Flurry attacks do not ghost hit. So before you used to, if you're like on 90 plus attack speed, if you had your mana active, you would actually consume resources but not deal damage and reduce the time of your diffusion warp. That's fixed now, and I actually kind of like the werewolf build now. I don't know if dash and chance scroll is something I want to try, but this is pretty huge. Overall, I like the updates. She's more fun to play. She just deals less damage than before, sadly. Let's talk about Spellwhip though. Yeah, increased damage for Stringento, 14% huge. Accentanto, 14% huge. Increase the SP acquisition. This is huge for a reason, because Spellwhip depends extremely on how much SP you can acquire. That's why the Calm and Chance Scroll is busted on this weapon. With this change, you may not be required to actually have a Calm and Chance Scroll anymore. Right now, you need it. Now, I'm not so sure anymore. And you also regen more mana. So just your overall mana management will be way easier. On Sword, it feels like they're tuning down her mana time. With these changes, it actually feels like you will be in way more mana than non-mana in Spellwhip. They're also making quality of life changes to the stack system, where you used to, you're now not in, okay, sorry. You're no longer able to trigger your stacks when you're at 18 to 19 stacks. Basically, if you press your right click a little too soon, you would smash at 19 and lose big boy damage. They now make it way smoother for you to not mess up, and you don't use them at all if it's not 20. It's written somewhere. Just a lot of quality of life changes. And they also reduce the mana cost from 10 to 6, which is a Spellsword they nerf from 7 to 10, and Whip they go from 10 down to 6. Like, for Whip, apparently it's fine to be in mana permanently now. I don't get it. Overall, like, everything for this weapon buff, huge. Like, Spellwhip, yet again, it was nerfed a few patches ago, but I think it's actually the stronger weapon again in terms of damage. No joke. Okay, hello Sylas, my friend, my boy. What was it for you? Made improvements so you can launch Phantom Shards immediately when you start the next attack. You fire the Phantom Shard at monsters faster than before. That's cool. Extinction Raw. 8% damage. Cool. This one is actually pretty huge. Phantasmic Slash deals the damage in 5 instead of 10 seconds. No boss is stationary for 10 seconds. Like, you place this down as an AoE on the ground. Pretty huge. It deals the same damage just in, like, half the time. You gain more SP. SP always huge. Attack range increase on Illusion Fist and enhanced Illusion Fist. I don't think you're using that a lot, but range increase is always cool, even though it's on a slightly less used skill. Reduce the time you need to wait after using Vision Dash until you use the next Vision Dash, so you can just back-to-back dash a bit faster. That's pretty neat for Sylas actually, because dashing is his only survivability. Like, his main survivability. That's pretty helpful, I guess. You can chain into your actives faster after dashing, which is pretty cool. Enemies floating above the ground are hit more easily with the following attacks, like basically everything. That's also pretty cool. Like, it's super annoying to miss attacks on like everyone. With this change, you're less likely to miss. Okay, let's talk about the biggest changed character in this update, Delia. Changed so that only Eclipse's first attack recovers SP from successful blocks. Okay. So you cannot block once and get like 90,000 SP back. I want to say that's a slight nerf, but it is, yeah. Like, in some situations it was pretty handy to like get a full SP bar, because Delia is one of those characters, the more SP the better, because every combo is finished with Iron Thrust, which costs SP, but this will not like nerf her big boy. This is okay to exist. Alright, next character, Miri. First things first, her transformation, her ancestral garb. That's a weird name. What does garb mean even? I know. Reduce the animation time, but they increase the time that you're invulnerable. Basically, like, if you finish the ability, if you finish transforming, you're actually kind of immune for like probably like one rotation or whatever. Call of the Dragon can now actually be used when you're not in Dragon Knight, so that's pretty huge. Miri's now have no excuse to not stun bosses because they're not in transform anymore. But it costs 250. Before it was free during Dragon Knight. Now 250 is still like the cheapest hold ability out there. And they buff her transformation. The issue on Miri is you cannot use your Dragon Transform and Path Transform at the same time. So you have to pick. And now they're just actually buffing transformation to a point where yeah, their Flame Breath, like all of them restore if you transform, and then they restore faster while you're transformed, which is pretty huge. About your Blazing Spine, the attack preparation time is decreased, the attack speed is increased, and the range is increased. alleviated the issue where the second hit on flame attack was sometimes lost. That's also pretty cool. But they did decrease the damage of the fiery chain swing. Which... I don't know, to be honest. I don't think Miri was like super OP. They could have just given her the transformation buff. Now it feels like during transformation it will probably be about the same strength. She will just get way more fiery chain swings off, but they deal less damage. But in non-transform, it will just be less damage. Maybe the quality of life on Blazing Spine is enough to make up for the damage lost, but I don't think so. That's a weird one to me. Maybe I don't understand Miri enough to see how this is still a buff. Like, this one is for sure really good, but combining it with a 5% damage nerf on her, like, main damage, I don't know. Anyway, Grimden, increase the attack range of active lethal crosscut. You know what I said all day long. Range increases are just juicy. You love to see them. Slightly increase the time you can guard with Occulted Soul. Poggers, like, it was like one of his main issues, I want to say, his block ability being a bit hard to use, it now being easier, super. And you can chain into Silent Step slightly faster after silent. Yeah, so more quality of life enables you to block sooner after the jump. Just Poggers update for Grimden. It's not like, okay, not Poggers, but some quality of life. Makes it easier to play. Anyway, Eira. Changed weave as below. Changed the controls of kneeling, gunfire attacks. So you can use mana munition slightly faster from weave motion. Okay, that's pretty cool. Change so that gravity rounds can be activated slightly faster. So if you hold down your right mouse button, that's cool. You don't need MP to use flux rounds, which is pretty cool. Infinity fix an issue where probably inflict damage all the way. Yeah, Infinity Shots was giga broken. Like, just not working as intended. You can withstand enemy attacks slightly better during the attack motion. That's good. There's nothing worse than starting Infinity rounds and getting staggered out of it. Chaos Warp as below added the Light of Time and Space boon, which temporarily increases attack speed when you come out of the time-space portal after using the skill. How did I not know about that? You get 10 flat attack speed on an attack speed scaling character for 10 seconds. Wait, you see, like, Chaos Warp, I like how that they do that for two reasons. A, it like fits the character, what she needs, and B, the skill was useless after they got rid of true iframes. You guys remember when Chaos Warp was Eira's way of dodging red attacks? Now that it lost the ability to dodge red attacks, there was no point in ever using this attack. This is just poggers, dude. Nexon, good job on that one. I'm so proud of you for this one. Oh boy. I didn't expect a buff for Eira, to be honest, but not sure if it was required, but yeah, dude, hey, hell yeah. That one must be cool. Like, I might be overpricing it. It may not have a big impact on the damage or gameplay, but just the idea that Nexon came up with. Actually proud. Anyway, LeThor, reduce damage of Tiger Strike, that's her counter attack, increase the damage of the following attacks, Crescent Chain, Arts, Half Moon Chain. Wait, that's her just smashes, right? Wait, hold on. What? I didn't know about the buffs on her smashes. I thought she was only nerfed in counter-attacking. So basically they're doing, like, they make her even more unique from Twin Sword Vella, where she deals even less damage in counter but more damage in proactive. It's a nerf, 100%. LeThor is still busted. Go play her still if you like her. Like, there's no reason to drop the character for this nerf. Like, it's actually fair. The following attacks on Kael have their damage decreased by 7%. Those are his smashes, right? Yeah. Fair. Kael was overperforming a bit, so not going too harsh on him. That's cool. And for Tessa, the following attacks have been decreased in damage. Basically everything. And the marks also deal 20% less damage and reduce stamina replenish. And also when you use your... Sorry, reduce the stamina cost of each of the following attacks by 1. Okay, yeah, you see. So you regen less stamina, but you just consume less. So overall, it's not big. And they also changed it that during Amethyst Flow, your tab move is not reduced by 1 diamond anymore. So it always costs 2 diamonds. So you cannot do the left mouse button tab cheese anymore. But none of these changes nerf the way the character actually like works. She's still super strong. She's still super easy to use. Her damage will just not be the best at all times. But I'll be honest with you, a Tessa before those nerfs with 2k less additional damage was able to hold up with other characters. Now she just needs equal gear to out damage. It's still, the character makes no sense still. Let's talk about Belle. I don't know why they go in release order, but then they skip Belle. Maybe they forget she actually exists. I would too. But she gets some decent changes actually. First things first, her deforestation. If you block an attack with it, you just deal more damage with it. Same for active landslide. And they also increase the time frame that you block attacks with on the deforestation. And that's the big thing actually, you know, just increasing the time frame doesn't do anything, because even if you time it properly, you would sometimes still get hit during the block frames, which will no longer happen apparently. They said they fixed it, but it may still occur. But most of the times it should not occur anymore, which is like the biggest buff they could give to Belle. That's the one thing I hated when playing this character, how unreliable her defensive skill was. But with that being covered, we actually got through all of these changes. Guys, I'm so sorry for this video being way longer than my average video. I should have time frames stamps to all of the characters in the description, so you're able to skip to whichever character you want to know about. I should have probably said that in the beginning, but if you want to rewatch the video and you made it this far, now you know. And just thank you guys so much for watching these videos. It really makes my day whenever you guys comment, ask questions, or like just give me any feedback. I'm out for today. I'll be back soon, but until then, have a great time. Bye!